You're listening to an Ono Media podcast.
Good morning, and thanks for joining me for Rise in Crime, your morning caffeine hit all about crime. I'm Mama Jules, and let's start today by talking about three brothers, all of them multimillionaires from Florida and New York. Yeah, you heard that right. They're so rich, they have dual estates. They are also so rich that they allegedly have women lining up to date them. But as we learned over the last 2 weeks, that doesn't seem to be what the men wanted. See, 5 women specifically are alleging that these men are guilty of gender-motivated violence. All right, so that's violence or rape that is filled with anger and hatred for women. And because of that anger and disregard for women, they treat them like sexual objects and they violently assault them. So how did these 3 brothers build this kind of lifestyle? Well, the twins, Alon and Oren Alexander, and their older brother Tal, all grew up in Miami, Florida, and they were born into this wealth. Their father had grown into a wealthy real estate developer, and according to Business Insider, the family had started a profitable security firm called Kent Security. It was this security firm where one of the twins, Alon, became a top executive and also where he began to build his portfolio. The other twin, Oren, and his older brother, Tal, well, they moved to New York in 2008 when they were in their early 20s. It was in NYC where the two launched their real estate careers. Oren began working for Douglas Elliman Realty, and Tal started his own luxury rental company. Well, while both of them enjoyed some success, they then decided in 2011 to work together as the Alexander team at Douglas Elliman Realty. That same year, Oren was named on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list for real estate go-getters. And it's happening for these two. And I'm sure it's not hurting their careers that they're attractive men as well. Hence why I said the women seem to be lining up to spend time with the 3 brothers. As they flourished in their careers, Oren and Tal built a team of 10 agents at Douglas Elliman. And in 2019, the Miami Herald, okay, remember that's their hometown even though they're in New York. Well, the Miami Herald highlighted the 3 brothers in a news article where it was reported that the brothers had closed deals totaling nearly $500 million, and all of that in just the first 3 months of the year. They had cashed in on a referral fee for the $122 million mansion in London. They closed a $238 million deal on a New York City penthouse, and they represented a high-profile buyer of a $50 million mansion in Miami. Now, who are these high-profile clients? Well, they included Kanye West and Kim Kardashian, Steve Madden and Tommy Hilfiger, and billionaire Leon Black. Well, finally, Tal and Oren launched their own real estate firm in 2022. But all of this went bad a few months ago when 5 women filed separate civil lawsuits alleging rape, kidnapping, and sexual assault. And if you followed the P. Diddy scandal at all, which we've covered extensively here, these 3 men are on pretty much the same trajectory. It was the civil suits that were filed by dozens of women and some men that ultimately led the FBI to arrest P. Diddy. And such is the same for the Alexander brothers. First came the civil suits, and then followed the state and federal charges. And as of this month, all 3 men are now incarcerated, and it doesn't look like bond will be available for them. All right, what do these claims look like? Here's the details on the civil lawsuits. Rebecca Mandel claims she met Oren and Alon in 2009. Now, this meetup occurred at a now closed club in New York City called SL. Rebecca was just about 18 years old, and the twins at this time would have been in their mid-20s. Throughout the next year, Rebecca said she would occasionally run into the twins at parties and at clubs. And then months after the first meeting, Rebecca claimed she ran into the twins at SL again. During their conversation, Rebecca said Alon intentionally drugged her drink, significantly impairing her physical and mental capabilities. She claims that is the only drink she ingested that night. She claims the 2 men took her back to their Manhattan apartment, where she says the brothers took turns holding her down and raping her. She said the assault took hours and that she was raped multiple times by each man. Now, the second civil lawsuit was filed by Kate Whiteman, and this case has kind of some unique details. Named in the suit are the twins, again, but also included is ultra-wealthy Ivan Wilzig. Okay, let's talk about him. It seems Ivan, he owns a castle. And no, it really does look like a castle, kind of like one you would find that was manufactured for a movie set. Well, this faux castle is in the Hamptons, and it has been dubbed as Sir Ivan's Castle. Kate met Orrin in 2008 in New York City. And according to the civil suit, she said she turned down Orrin's offers to go out with him. She did it repeatedly. She said those requests included Alon pretending to be Orrin. All of this in a desire to help his brother with his romantic request directed towards Kate. Well, finally, during Memorial Day weekend of 2012, Kate said she was leaving Dune nightclub when Alon grabbed her by the arm and shoved her into a waiting black SUV. Inside the vehicle was Orrin. While she was being driven to Ivan's castle, Kate said she asked several times to be let out. As they pulled into the garage at the castle, the twins and Kate were met by security detail, who wrangled Kate into the house where her belongings, like her phone and her purse, were locked into a cabinet. One of the twins slipped the key onto his wrist and forced Kate into an upstairs bedroom. Kate then detailed in the suit the alleged rape and torture by Alon and Orrin. Now, Sir Ivan was not involved in the assaults, but he was named in the suit for, providing the house and security guards to ensure the rape could happen. There's a side note here. The banking billionaire has since banned all three brothers from his Sir Ivan's estate. All right, those are the first two. Now there's a third civil lawsuit that was filed by Angelica Parker. And in this suit, all three brothers are named. Angelica says she and a friend were invited to one of the men's apartments in New York City. While there, having drinks, she claims she was offered ecstasy. Spooked by the kind of sudden sexual turn of the meetup, Angelica's friend fled the apartment and she hid in the stairwell waiting for Angelica to come out. However, Angelica claims she wasn't allowed to leave the apartment and that Orrin watched as Alon and Tal took turns raping her. By this third lawsuit, which was filed in late spring of this year, the brothers began speaking out, and they told the Daily Beast that Angelica was a, quote, professional plaintiff. They explained this by saying she had already filed a sexual assault lawsuit against boxing legend Oscar de la Hoya. Well, then a month later, a fourth lawsuit was filed, this time by a woman named Renee Willett. Renee said she met Orrin through a high-end dating app. After chatting for several months and finally realizing they had mutual friends, she agreed to meet him at his apartment. She said she was drugged via her alcoholic drink and then forcibly raped. So we've got the four lawsuits now filed, and then the Miami Herald ran a piece detailing the assaults and also quoting a business associate of the brothers in Miami. That business associate told the Miami Herald that the three brothers allegedly sexually assaulted women and that it's been an open secret in Miami for years, especially amongst the real estate community. All right, remember, these four lawsuits are based out of New York City. If the business associate from Florida is correct, what's been going on in Miami when the men are there? Now, a woman named Abigail, she told the Miami Herald that when she was 15 years old, she was driven to an empty home where the Alexander brothers and their friends were waiting to assault her. She said she was held down by her arms and legs while one of the brothers began climbing atop her. She said she wrestled free from the young men and ran from the home. As she was fleeing, she said she saw one of the brothers' friends holding a camcorder. Okay, for anyone who's younger than me, I'm in my 50s, that's kind of an early version of a video camera. That's how we would take video back then. Now, this final lawsuit, we have the first four. This final lawsuit led to an eventual arrest of the brothers, and it was filed by a woman asking to remain anonymous. And kind of like the Sir Ivan lawsuit, this case includes the twins and an extra player, a man named Ahad Fisherman. Ahad is also a man of wealth and also from Florida. And in the lawsuit, Jane Doe and Alon, it's stated they met each other via the dating app Bumble. Now, they even met up a few times for casual conversation and drinks. Then over the holidays in 2016, Jane Doe went to Miami to be with family. While there, she got a text from Alon asking her to join him for a barbecue at an oceanfront condo somewhere near Miami. He even sent pictures of the friends at the barbecue. This was trying to help her feel at ease or, lower her tension about attending. When Jane Doe agreed and arrived at the condo, she soon figured out she was the only guest there. There was no barbecue happening. Alon invited her in and introduced her to Oren and his friend Ahad. After some chit-chatting, Jane Doe alleges that Alon led her to a bedroom and locked the door once they entered. Already inside the room was Oren and Ahad. Jane Doe said for the next few minutes the twins discussed or argued about who was going to rape her first. Jane Doe claims in the lawsuit that Oren won the argument and proceeded to rape her while his brother watched. Jane Doe said she instinctively began, almost like pretending that she was enjoying the encounter or the assault because she'd been told that was the best way to stop a predator from doing what they were doing. And she said it worked and that Oren became frustrated and stormed out of the room. But that left Alon and Ahad, and they allegedly each took turns raping the woman. So those are the main 5 civil suits that kicked off the criminal investigation. Many more women have come forward since those suits were filed. And all of this led to Alon, Oren, and Tal being arrested on December 11th by FBI agents in Miami, Florida. Tal was charged separately from the twins, which means his hearings and the twins' joint hearing will be conducted separately. In the federal charges out of New York, the 3 brothers were each charged with 1 count of engaging in sex trafficking conspiracy, charges that could land them in prison for life. Now on Friday, FBI Special Agent Justine Atwood, she took the stand in the preliminary federal detention hearing for Tal Alexander. Now, this kind of testimony has yet to occur for the twins. They're a little bit behind in their court hearings. All right, so Special Agent Atwood, she testified that she had interviewed 40 women, most of them from New York, but there were some women from other cities. And these women are saying that they were raped by at least one of the brothers. Agent Atwood said the women's claims are credible, that they occurred over the last 20 years, and that the 40 women didn't know each other. So they all allegedly happened on separate occasions. That's pretty disturbing if true. At least 40 individual sexual assaults, with the FBI presuming there are more unreported cases. Also, the twins, Oren and Alon, they're 37 years old, and Tal is 38 years old. That means these alleged assaults go back to when these men were in their late teens. At the hearing for the federal charges of sexual assault and rape, Tal was denied bail despite his ultra-wealthy family committing to ponying up $115 million for his bond. Now, most of that would have been secured by real estate holdings. But Judge Lizette Reed said her decision to hold Tal without bond was influenced by Tal being a flight risk. There's just too many ties to Israel for the family. And remember, these are the federal charges. And today, Alon and Oren are in federal court to see if they qualify for bond. But it's not looking good for them, since Alon and Oren will likely feel the repercussions of Tal's no bond judgment. All right, back to the hearing for Tal last Friday. In that hearing, the defense attorney questioned the motives of the women, saying some of them have had friendly exchanges with the 3 brothers since the alleged assaults. He said those friendly messages indicate that the acts were consensual and not violent. However, in the federal hearing, it was revealed that following those 5 civil lawsuits that we discussed earlier, the brothers allegedly began threatening the women who filed the suits. The feds say the brothers were actively compiling files on the alleged victims, this in order to discredit them in court. Tall and Oren also allegedly filed a police report against one of the women and potentially sent threatening messages saying they would countersue for defamation. Federal prosecutor Lauren Astegaraga described the three brothers as serial rapists, and that following their arrest last week, more accusers have come forward, according to that prosecutor. So, we've seen a lot of light shed on the federal charges with more transparency to come. What about the state charges? Well, they'll probably reach the same level of transparency. It's just going to take some time. But this is really early on in the criminal phase. Most of what we now know has been revealed in those civil suits. And finally, in one last disturbing detail about these men, back in high school, Oren Alexander was shown in his high school yearbook where kids listed their favorite memory from high school. You know, like the quarterback might say something like, my favorite memory was winning the state title. Or the class clown might say something like, my favorite memory was the senior prank that we pulled. Well, what was Oren's favorite high school memory? He wrote, riding his first choo-choo train. Yeah, that's a reference to gang sexual activity, most often referencing gang rape. So there's that. I'll be watching this case. P. Diddy has more than 200 accusers, at least the last time I looked. It's actually probably higher now. But will these three brothers reach those levels? If they've been allegedly behaving this way since high school, that potential is definitely there. Okay, a few weeks back, I brought you the case of missing, or should I say voluntarily missing, Hannah Kobayashi. And when I ended that update a couple of weeks ago, I said that I would be watching for any further updates, but then I clarified that I wasn't even sure there would be updates since a grown woman can disappear into Mexico if she wants to disappear into Mexico. Well, guess what? She's back on U.S. soil. But first, let's remind everyone about the case. Hannah arrived at Los Angeles International Airport from Hawaii on November 8th. Hannah had a short window, less than 40 minutes to catch her connecting flight to New York. She purposely didn't make the flight. The 30-year-old was then seen a couple of times over the next few days at a shopping mall in Los Angeles, and then she returned to LAX to pick up her luggage that was sent back from New York City because the luggage had obviously made the flight connection. After those couple of days, and after Hannah left her cell phone somewhere in the airport, Hannah went radio silent. Concerned by alarming text messages prior to the radio silence, her family began searching for Hannah, and they reported her missing to the LAPD. Her father even made the trek to LA to search for her. Tragedy struck the family once again when Hannah's father took his own life near LAX on November 24th. As the LAPD conducted their investigation, valuable information came to light, like the fact that Hannah wasn't alone on that flight. A man was with her, and also she had worked her way down to the Mexico-California border and willingly crossed into the foreign country. Hannah's family refused to believe that Hannah willingly went missing, but the LAPD assured the public that they were certain of their findings and that if Hannah returned to America, they would let us know. Well, she's returned on Sunday, and LAPD are saying that they are pleased that Hannah has returned and that the investigation is now closed and that it is a private matter for now. Hannah's aunt has made a public statement saying that Hannah is focusing on her healing, peace, and creativity. She said that Hannah was unaware of the media attention that she was receiving and that now her family and her have reconnected. Hannah's just trying to absorb all of it. She asked that she receive privacy as she navigates through this challenging time. Now, this news has left some feeling a little deceived because during the ordeal, Hannah's family started a GoFundMe that raised $47,000 before it was voluntarily shut off by the family. And the family says that if you donated to the GoFundMe and that you're desiring a refund, well, just submit a claim to the organization. And rumors have also circulated that Hannah was caught up in a green card marriage scam. Okay, it seems Hannah might have married an Argentinian man named Alan to help him obtain a green card in the United States. It's also been rumored that the entire scam was hatched by Hannah's former love interest. Now, it appears documents were discovered at Hannah's home in Hawaii that indicate the scam was taking place. Los Angeles Magazine reported that Hannah was supposed to receive money in return for the fake marriage, but that seemed to break down as the scam unfolded. And as far as LAPD are concerned, that's not their matter to investigate. It's out of their jurisdiction, according to Lieutenant Doug Oldfield, who investigated Hannah's original case. The magazine also said that Hannah's former partner possibly married the wife of the Argentinian, this to double the money earned from the green card scam. So what does a green card scam fetch? I mean, I was going, how much money are we looking at? Well, it's been reported that Hannah could have been paid about $30,000 for the ruse. It's also been reported that the scam fell apart when Hannah became frustrated and purposely missed the flight to New York City. That missed flight kind of jumbled up the whole concocted story for immigration, because they were supposed to be providing pics of the couple's vacationing and showing they had a history together, all of this in order to provide legitimacy to the green card application. All right, guess who didn't return with Hannah? Her former partner, who is allegedly back in Maui and lying low. And the Argentinian couple did not come back to America either. People familiar with Hannah and her former partner in Hawaii, well, they're saying the green card scam was not kept quiet, and that Hannah had explained the scam to multiple people at the smoke shop where she worked. Those islanders also say this really isn't the first time that Hannah has been caught up in some, shall we say, questionable activity, and that her family's response to her missing didn't really match the Hannah that they knew and worked with. Now, I would love to know what you think about this staged disappearance that pretty much captivated the U.S. for about 2 weeks. Just let me know in the social media comments. And now, I'm including this short case because I feel like it's our duty to learn from the crimes that we report on here. You know, maybe we learn ways to be safer, or we learn about red flags in relationships, or possibly we can learn how to treat those who have left this world, especially those who left because of someone's violent acts. Well, in this story, hopefully we can learn about what questions to ask when a loved one passes on. See, last year in December, Talicia Williams and her family had just begun to mourn the natural death of their mother, 58-year-old Charlene Williams. Charlene did have some health problems, so she visited the hospital last December, kind of feeling short of breath. 12 hours later, Charlene went into cardiac arrest, and the medical team could not revive her. Talicia said her and her two brothers were just devastated. They requested, through the hospital, that Charlene's remains be transported from Spring Hill Medical Center to Smalls Mortuary. As the family was mourning the loss of their mother and preparing for the funeral, Talicia received a phone call from Smalls Mortuary requesting they come to the funeral home immediately, stating there were some concerns with the condition of Charlene's body. When they arrived, they found their mother was in an unexpected advanced stage of decomposition for having only died 2 days earlier. Her body was bloated and so beyond repair that the funeral home morticians recommended not having an open casket for viewing of Charlene. Talicia told Fox 10 that she just fell to the floor, overcome with tears when she saw what her mother looked like. After asking some questions, Talicia says the hospital is to blame for the condition of her mother's body. She alleges they didn't store her remains appropriately and that Charlene was kept in a cool room and not the appropriate morgue where a body should have been held. Talicia and her family have now filed a suit against the hospital, accusing the staff and business of wrongdoing related to Charlene's post-death experience. To be more specific, the suit claims that the hospital negligently stored Charlene's body. Spring Hill Medical Center has 30 days to file a response to the lawsuit, and they are telling the press that they have a policy of not commenting on pending litigation. Talesia's lawyers told the news outlet that they have not been able to get answers from the hospital about whether the cooling system was broken or malfunctioning, or if the hospital just plainly doesn't have an appropriate room set up. But they say they do know this. They believe Charlene's body showed, quote, advanced decaying well beyond what should have occurred. The request for damages amount is not listed in the lawsuit. But like I said when I started this story, I didn't even think to ask how my father-in-law's body or my sister-in-law's body would be stored until the funeral home could pick up our loved ones. Both of them died in the regional hospital from advanced diseases. And we were blessed that their remains were handled respectfully and appropriately. Now, I know this is a question to be asked during such a difficult time. Ask how long the body is going to be stored at the hospital and in what kind of situation is the hospital available for storing a body. You don't know until you know. All right, let's visit some comments from Rise and Crime listeners. Kelly said on YouTube that she was grateful for the update on the Duke lacrosse rape case. She said up until that update, she didn't realize that the athletes weren't guilty. And you guys, Kelly is not alone, which is why I chose to cover that case, despite it being a little bit longer of a deep dive than what I usually do. And Lena agreed with Kelly in the sense that wrongful accusations, well, they not only harm the athletes, but they also harm other innocent victims. And from another case on last week's episode, Nicole is baffled that a mother who is guilty of killing her 13-month-old, so viciously, 5 stabbings. Well, she's baffled that she would only be ordered to serve 20 years. You guys, someday I'm going to do a deep dive into sentencing structures here. I know that I am consistently frustrated with sentencing guidelines in my state for child rapists and for those who produce child porn. Many states need their sentencing guidelines reevaluated. We'll see it again and again in case after case on Rise and Crime. Well, that's your Thursday episode of Rise and Crime. Thanks for being here with me, whether it be you join me on YouTube or on the podcast. I love that we have such a loyal listening audience, so thank you for being here. We love 5-star reviews and positive comments at Oh No Media. Those podcasts are Into the Dark, Murder with My Husband, and Rise and Crime. Probably the best thing you can do for all of us is just refer the podcast or the YouTube broadcast to a friend. Let people know about Rise and Crime. It really does help this podcast grow. And please let me know what you think about today's cases. Join me again on Monday for more morning crime news. I'm Mama Jules, and keep safe out there.